Hello and welcome. My name is Brandon Atchley, and I'm a technical account manager here at Ingram Micro. I focus on the HPE Aruba product portfolio with a specialized focus around the EdgeConnect SD WAN product line, formerly known as Silver Peak. I'm here today to bring you a webinar series called Sharpen Your Edge, where I hope to help sharpen your knowledge around the EdgeConnect portfolio with sessions like why SD-WAN, what is SD-WAN, the power behind EdgeConnect. I cover things like the hardware, the licensing. I hope you find this series to be educational and you join me for the future sessions. Thank you. Now let's jump into episode 2, why SD-WAN of the Sharpen Your Edge webinar series. If you missed part 1, episode 1, what is SD-WAN, I'd recommend going back and watching that one. Right now you're watching why SD-WAN, and then in the future sessions we'll have the power of EdgeConnect, security with EdgeConnect, better together with access security, and hardware and licensing overviews. Now before we dive into that, let's talk about contact methods. We have the 2 email aliases you can leverage. We have the Aruba EdgeConnect at ingrammicro.com along with the Silver Peak at ingrammicro.com. Utilizing both of these aliases, you can get quotes, orders, ETAs, tracking, and renewal information for Silver Peak or EdgeConnect. Going down into the second section, we have our technical resources, myself, Brandon Atchley. We have my colleague, Jeff Swetland, another technical account manager focused on Aruba. And then we have John Bushart, our Senior Solution Center Engineer, who runs our data center full of HPE equipment from servers, storage, networking, wireless, and EdgeConnect. Now, if you notice on the right there, we have a Book Time With Us QR code that you can scan with your phone. It brings up a Microsoft booking page that allows you to book time with myself or Jeff Swetland to get a deeper dive into any of the Aruba products. It also has information on contacting our other TAM resources for servers and storage, so it includes all of our HPE technical resources. Now, dropping down to the bottom there, we have our sales specialists. We have Stephanie Finucane and we have Mike Herb, along with Kelly Murphy, our Senior Vendor Business Manager, who oversees all of the Aruba business. So you can leverage any of those 3 contacts for any sales, or any of the 3, Brandon, Jeff, or John, for any of the technical assistance. Last, before we dive into the content, if you are currently not a Silver Peak partner but want to sign up, I have a QR code there that you can scan to take you to the registration page. Allows you to sign up. I'd encourage you to do so if you have any interest in SD-WAN or selling Silver Peak. Once you sign up, contact us and we can help you get approved. Alrighty, now let's dive into the content of why SD-WAN. So I'm going to start off with more of the market outlook of what things are going on that will make you look into SD-WAN. So first we have the transformation to cloud that a lot of businesses are undergoing, where a lot more of their resources are being moved into cloud resources, and they need to improve how they're connecting to the cloud, how they're securing the cloud, just the overall, connection point, security, everything on that. Second, we have new devices coming onto the network like IoT, mobile devices, telemetry, healthcare. We have a lot of new devices coming onto the network that need to access different resources, and we need to understand what they need to connect to, make sure they're securely connecting to it, and we're still restricting access to other parts of the network. So we may have some sensors coming on in one of the remote locations that need to talk into a head-end server or to the cloud, and SD-WAN helps us make these connections and make sure they're still secure. And then the last one, the hybrid or work from anywhere, that was greatly sped up thanks to the pandemic. We now have our remote workers working from multiple different locations, their house, on the road. We kind of already had this prior to the pandemic. We had a lot of people that might be road warriors, but now because of the pandemic, that is greatly increased with the amount of users connecting from anywhere. So we have to make sure our users are still connecting to all the resources they need, but still staying secure and being able to manage and monitor everything going on, so that way nothing malicious happens. Now, these three are some of the biggest transformations that are causing us to need to look at a WAN and security transformation, and SD-WAN helps us solve these needs. So if we look at some of the number data, we can see the chart on the left shows growth of cloud spend. Now, this isn't directly tying into SD-WAN, but this is tying into one of the big kind of transformations, the cloud migration that we're going through, that is causing us to look at SD-WAN. So as you can see, for the last 3 years, our numbers are just increasing and increasing, right? There's no slowing down into the amount of cloud being, purchased, or companies moving to the cloud. Now, if we look on the chart to the right, we see a pie chart breaking down companies and what they're looking for, whether they already adopted SD-WAN, they're looking to, or maybe that's not something that they're interested in at this time. And if you look at that, we already have 47.5% that's already deployed some type of SD-WAN. Now, there are multiple iterations of SD-WAN, so they could be on SD-WAN 1.0, where it was more of a basic, just taking multiple internet connections and not really doing a lot of intelligence with it. So those companies still might be looking at evolving into SD-WAN 2.0 and the more intelligent SD-WAN solutions that are out now. But if we look at the next 12 months or the next 24 months, we have a huge chunk there. We have 28.5%, so 48.5% amount of companies, a bigger amount than what's currently deployed, that will be looking to deploy SD-WAN. So that's a huge portion, a huge chunk of the piece of the pie, as you may, of companies that are going to be moving into that direction, and only 4% that don't have any plans of deploying in the next 24 months. Now, it could be the fact that they just don't need to go. Their company's not really designed or in a position that needs SD-WAN, or maybe that SD-WAN's not even on their radar yet, and those are the companies that are past 24 months that will in the future be looking to deploy it. So there's a lot of opportunities out there that we want to look at and we want to take advantage of. Now let's get into more of the why and kind of an understanding of where we're at today and where we need to go. So if you did see that episode 1, I went over what is SD-WAN, and I kind of mentioned some of these topics, but we have, this is a legacy, this is the traditional network where we had our corporate data center, we had our branch locations that would connect back to our data center with MPLS connections. We potentially had some mobile users or home office users, right? In this day and age, it wasn't a great amount of mobile or home office, but now, we would probably throw half a dozen more of those users out there, if not more, that are connecting in. And then we had the public cloud that we were connecting into. And with this scenario, we had the castle and moat scenario, right? We had all of our resources at our corporate data center, which we built around the security all around that. We had all of our policies, all of our connection points, and it was a lot easier to manage and maintain because of this approach. However, the amount of resources that we housed in our data center, in our main HQ, right, they're greatly reducing, right? We're moving more of that into cloud resources, which is kind of making us need that transformation that I talked about in that, previous slide. So this is how it was done, in a legacy environment. We connected back to the data center, everything backpacked out to the cloud. We had costly MPLS connections in there. It was a little bit more difficult, or a lot more difficult, to manage those connection points, those routers. We had a lot of VPNs that we had to worry about. We had latency that we might have worried about because of all of our connections having to do an extra hop just to get to the cloud resources. So what we're really looking at doing is moving to a new hybrid model, right? So we have the then that I just talked about, and then the now that we're moving to with SD WAN, where now all of our users, our data centers, our branch offices can connect right to the cloud and right to the resources, right? If you have a user that still needs something that's on the data center, you can connect right to the data center and still grab those resources. However, now if I want to connect to Ring Central or want to get some files off a Dropbox, I don't have to go through the data center to access it. My SD-WAN solution is intelligent enough to just direct my users right to those solutions. And then I would have something like an SSE cloud security vendor living in the cloud that is still securing all of those connections and allowing me to put things like a ZTNA or a secure web gateway to secure and monitor all those connections to make sure nothing malicious is happening, right? And that's the transformation that we're going towards, and that's what SD-WAN is really going to allow companies to move to, rather than having to have this legacy approach of, okay, let me put a VPN client on my user's computer, I can send them home. Now they can connect back to the data center, which then they will go out to the cloud resources and access whatever they need. It's a little bit clunkier that way. Now I can say, hey, when you open up your file share, it's connecting back to the data center, or you need to access your cloud resources going right there, and the tools and SD-WAN solution that you're putting in place is automatically handling that all from the central orchestration panel that you're managing and figuring everything through. Now let's talk about adoption drivers, right? So we talked about all the transformations and IoT and cloud and the hybrid work from anywhere, all of those things. But let's talk about kind of the more nitty-gritty specifics, right? So the top one, cloud, of course. I'm not going to hit upon that, but that is a huge driver. But let's talk about zero trust or SASE, right? So these are huge buzzwords that are becoming more and more relevant today. You're hearing them more often, and zero trust is the premise of I can't trust anything now, right? It's not a matter of if I get hacked or if I get a virus. It's a matter of when anymore, right? There's just a huge attack, target anymore with our users working from anywhere, with us connecting to the cloud. So the best security against it is zero trust, meaning I'm going to make sure all of my users and all of my devices on the network accessing it can only access what I have explicitly told them to be able to access, right? It's no longer the castle and moat mentality where the user gets on the network and from there it's kind of like they have the keys to the kingdom. They're in the castle, can be a Trojan horse, and they could just access anything and they could wreak all the havoc they want. Right? With the zero trust, I'm making sure that, hey, you're this user, you're only allowed to access that. You're this security camera, you shouldn't really be accessing anything besides going back to the DVR or the NVR on the network. Now, SASE is an interesting concept because it's a married between two different technologies, right? We have the SD WAN, which we're talking about today, and then we have the SSE, the cloud security, which is itself a kind of numerous amounts of products within there, like cloud security gateways and ZTNA, right? So when we marry those two together, which we're talking about Edge Connect and their SD WAN solution, and then we have a future session, the Better Together with Access Security, which is going to go into the SSE, which handles that component. So with these new security technologies that the market's shifting towards, you're going to be in a great spot adopting an SD-WAN solution like Edge Connect that has ties in and the ability to leverage multiple SSE vendors along with their own access security vendor. The next one is a consolidated WAN functionality setup. So what this is essentially getting into is, in today's day and age with the current deployments, you could have a router, a firewall, WAN optimization appliance, all in one location. Now, I don't think that's going to be at your typical just branch location, but your heavier data centers or main corporate offices, you could have all three of these appliances at those locations, which multiple operating systems, the complexity of it is just enormous, right? You might have multiple teams that have to manage them. It's just confusing. It's more complicated, and I apologize. The next three, the consolidation of WAN functionality, the reduced WAN management complexity, and the reduced infrastructure and connectivity costs, these kind of go all hand in hand with each other. They kind of lay right on top of each other. So we talk about moving to like an SD WAN solution like Edge Connect, right? The Edge Connect appliances are routers, but they are full-featured firewalls as well as WAN optimization appliances, all in one appliance, right? So with moving to it, you now consolidated the amount of hardware you have at the location. Because it's all one single operating system orchestrated through a single pane of glass management, you're greatly reducing the complexity of deploying it, updating it. You no longer have 3 different teams that you have to keep on staff to manage your routers, your firewalls, and your WAN optimization. So it's greatly reducing the complexity there. And then because you no longer have those 3 separate appliances there, your support costs go down, your costs in general goes down. As a technical resource, I don't like, kind of announcing this too much, but the amount of technical resources you have to keep on staff is reduced because now you only have one solution in place that is a lot simpler to manage and a lot more efficient to manage. So these are some of the huge drivers of SD-WAN, and these kind of go across the board. I know I'm here today to talk to you about Edge Connect and the Aruba solution, but SD-WAN in general is solving a lot of these problems today, and the market is shifting and heavily moving into this direction. Now, when we talk about the challenges of traditional, right, they were very network driven, right? So it was just, hey, I have my network, I need to connect to the internet, I need to connect my VPN users, right? It was kind of, centered around what the network needed at the time. It really wasn't centered around ease of use or the extra applications or the cloud connectivity that we needed. The quality of experience could be inconsistent, right? The routers or firewalls of days past weren't really optimized for the multiple WAN connections that we're leveraging today. We mentioned about how you kind of backpacked everything through the corporate data center and then out to the web. Now with things like internet breakout or the internet quality of service, we can take a look at multiple internet connections and choose the best path to go down, along with doing things like load balancing or parity packets to ensure that the data that you're sending is actually getting to the destination that you need to. It was rigid, right? So it was very difficult to transform or meet your needs. So what this is essentially meaning is when we wanted to make some updates or changes, we typically had to create a window, like a patch cycle window or an update window where we'd bring that site offline. Typically the IT staff would have to come in maybe on a weekend or on a day off to apply these changes. It was a very costly, and if it wasn't done within the window, they had to hurry up and revert everything back and create a new window, right? It was just a very complex thing to change or improve upon, whereas SD-WAN, being managed through a central orchestrator, helps us manage it, helps us monitor it, push out changes, make sure we're staying up to date, right? It makes things a lot less complex and gives us a lot more savings compared to the traditional. So there's truly a lot of benefits coming from the traditional WAN approaches that we previously were taking advantage of, or still currently might be taking advantage of. So last we want to talk about is how we're building this, and the SD-WAN solution, specifically Edge Connect, is cloud first, right? So it's built with the connection and the management in mind to allow us to connect to these cloud resources and allow us to connect to our users anywhere in the world connecting through the cloud. They're built for the applications living in the data center and the cloud, not just our main data center and then tunneling through it to the cloud. It's really taking it in account wherever your applications are. It doesn't matter what cloud resources they're on either. They could be on Azure, AWS, they could be on Google. It doesn't matter where they are. We're able to connect you to them in a very efficient manner. We're replacing all of those legacy routers, those branch gateways, the firewalls, and making it a lot more simple and easy to manage solution, which is going to ultimately simplify your entire network, and you'll shortly see ROI in the investment into an SD WAN solution. And that is all I have for the why SD WAN. So hopefully you found this to be very educational. Hopefully you join me in future sessions. And if you didn't get a chance to watch the video on what is SD WAN, I encourage you to go back and watch that as well. So again, my name is Brandon Atchley. Thank you for joining, and I hope you enjoyed.